What is the deal, Reapers? What is the deal? Y'all know what time it is. Y'all know what we doing. This is the Reaper Motivation Podcast, available to you on multiple platforms now: Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We have a lot of new content coming up in 2020, and today I actually wanted to get into the kind of like the New Year's resolution. You know, the New Year's is coming up. Christmas is right around the corner. We got a lot going on, and this has been a very eventful year in 2019. And one thing I do before every year that I've made a habit of ever since about, I say, 2017, I've made it a habit to make sure that each year I have a specific list of goals, and whether or not I think a year is successful or not is depending on how many goals I accomplish within that year on that list. So give y'all a little bit of information on myself. So in 2018, we'll go back a little bit to give you guys some context. So in 2017, I came to Virginia, and I basically came here and started from scratch. I was sleeping on my grandmother's couch. I had no job. I didn't have a license. I didn't have a car, and I was just in the military. I was a reservist, so I was trying to get myself back on my feet. And the following year, my goal was to start my electrical career. I'm an electrician in the Marine Corps, so the whole reason why I picked that MOS was to have a trade. So for 2018, my goal was to get started in that trade. I was also another goal of mine was to get my driver's license. I'd actually never driven a car before prior to that. One of the falls of growing up north, I didn't have to necessarily, because I had accessible to me some pretty good public transportation. But let me tell y'all something, especially anybody that lives up north, when you come down south, the public transportation is trash. These motherfucking buses down here are garbage. They are really, really bad. So if you don't know how to drive, when you come down here, you better learn, because I'm telling you, it's terrible. But it was to get my license, and then I also wanted to get a car, which at the time, starting 2017, was a bit advantageous to say the least. But that was something I really wanted to do. And then I also, to add one more goal to it, I wanted to raise my credit score up. So 2018 came, 2018 left, and by the end of 2018, I had gotten a job as an electrician. I had gotten 3 jobs as an electrician. I left one because I had a better offer. That offer ended up being a contract. And then the third job that I got, which I'm at now, started me off at $19 an hour, which was a huge jump, because when I first got to Virginia, I was working every Tuesday for $9 an hour, so it was a $10 jump. And then I also got my license and my car within about 6 months of 2018, and I started my first semester of school. Now, before I go any farther and go into what happened in 2019, I'm not doing any of this. I'm not saying any of this to flex, nothing like that. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. It's kind of, actually, I'll leave it at 2018. I won't get into 2019. But what I really wanted to do is, I just want to show you guys that if you go into this year with a goal list, that goal list needs to be that should be on your mind every day. Every day you wake up in the morning, when you're in the shower, when you're eating, when you're just chilling out, that list should be on your mind. Did I do anything to chase that goal that I set for this year? And that should be something that's always on your mind. And in order to keep that going, as Reapers, I want to give you guys some traits that I want you guys to introduce yourselves to, and then try to improve on for the next year. I'm doing the same thing, but I feel like these are 4 traits that I feel are the most important, and the most important and traits that you will ever try to come in contact with, just in life in general. But for 2020 specifically, we want to bring these up. So the first one is going to be discipline. So as y'all know, if you guys follow me on YouTube, I have the fitness channel Reaper Training, and this is the Reaper Motivation podcast. Discipline is something that's, I feel, the most underrated but yet the most important trait in life. And the reason why I say it's underrated is because I feel as though us as people, normally we like to kind of go with our mood, right? Just kind of let influences around us dictate what we're gonna do and what we should do. That's why I like to bring up often the power of free thought. Trying to limit the influence that people have on our psyche with their ideologies and their belief systems and things like that. You listen to what they're saying, but you're not letting that dictate who you are as a person and what you do. And a part of that is discipline, and that's also being able to effectively control your urges and the things that you want to do in order for a greater purpose. So if you're my age, you hear people all the time talk about procrastination, right? And how procrastination is a disease and a disorder and all this other stuff. This is Reaper Training. I'm not here to sugarcoat nothing with y'all. I'm trying to be great. I know you guys are trying to be great because you're on this channel. We are Reapers. We are people who are ambitious. We're people who are trying to go ahead in life. And so I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Procrastination is honestly just a form of a lack of discipline. Now, that's not to say that that's wrong. That's not to say that you're a bad person necessarily because you have a lack of discipline. Because at all times, all of us have a bit of a lack of discipline. No one, I don't care who you are, we're human beings, not robots. Everybody at some point in time has a lack of discipline, right? But you want to minimize these things. You want to marginalize them to the point to where you're still being able to accomplish things, to where you're still being successful. You don't want to let them run rampant. When they run rampant, then you have issues with procrastination. And a lot of times you'll see people who bring up the whole procrastination as being a setback for them or being a disease. I don't know if anybody else has heard that, but I've heard that a few times. Procrastination is a disease. It's not a disease, it's just a lack of discipline. And they'll say something to the effect of they're in school and they're failing these classes, it's procrastinate so much, or they can't get good grades, they procrastinate, or they've been trying to lose weight but they just keep procrastinating and pushing it off. All that is just a lack of discipline. So we're gonna try to uphold and to improve on our discipline for 2020. I have to do the same thing because, like I said, we're not always disciplined. I have a lack of discipline when it comes to money. I tend to sometimes kind of go with my mood when it comes to spending bread, and I need to stop doing that dumb shit. Like I said, we're not immune to none of this. We're all human. It's just it comes around along with the ride. But if your lack of discipline is holding you back in life, take small increments to change that. And I may be a little biased, but I like to say health and fitness is the number one way to start. Let me tell you something. If you can control yourself, you can stop yourself from eating all the nasty, fried foods and sweets that you want to eat and things like that. If you can control yourself from eating fast food to all this stuff, if you can control that, there's nothing that you can't control. You'll always have the ability to find that discipline within yourself. To get up and go to the gym when you should. That's the first place. I feel like if you find discipline in that first and foremost, then that just kind of sets the precedent for everything else. I said it on my channel, I say it right here. How can you run a business? How can you run a multi-million-dollar business if you can't even control your own body? How can you control a business if you can't control your own body? If you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anything else. That's something that's a very, very misunderstood aspect about fitness. It's not just about looking good so you can fuck hoes. It's not about just looking good so you could flex in pictures. No, it's really about taking care of yourself and taking pride in the way you look and how you carry yourself. And discipline is something that is found with fitness and is going to help you out a lot. I know that whenever I'm on my shit fitness wise, I'm normally at my peak as far as life goes. Case in point, 2017 going into 2018, I was physically, I feel like in 2018 around April, Mayish, that was the best I've ever looked in my 22 years of life. I'm still trying to get back to that right now. I was very, very lean, had a good amount of strength. I still was a bit built. I feel like that was my best I looked, and kind of life reflected that. I got a lot of things accomplished in 2018. Not to say that I did in 2019, but a lot of things were kind of held up until later on in the year, and I realized a lot of that was due to the fact that I didn't start taking my health seriously again until mid-year. I was letting other outside sources kind of fuck with my head a little bit and throw me off my course. So discipline is going to be very, very big. Discipline is going to be something that's going to help you out. And start off with fitness. Get your body right. Right, so next we're going to have ambition. That's going to be the second important trait that we're bringing into 2020. And y'all know I love to throw my quotes in here. And normally I would hear Malcolm X, but there's actually another person that I enjoy a lot. It's, I can't remember whether or not he was a philosopher or he's technically a poet. He's a Lebanese poet called Khalil Gibran. And he had a quote that he said, and it was, "I prefer to be a dreamer among the humblest, with visions to be realized, the Lord among those without dreams and desires." And what does that mean? That is basically the unapologetic way of saying, I want to chase my dreams. I want to be somebody who dreams of bigger and better things, even though I'm among those who don't feel the same. That is ambitious. That if I had to find a quote to tell you what the Reaper mentality was, it'd be that right there. That is pure, unadulterated, unapologetic ambition. That is the Reaper mentality right there. And the reason why I like that quote so much is because going into 2020, we all have very ambitious goals that we set for ourselves. But when you actually are serious about them and you go after them truly, that's when kind of people around you don't take too kindly to that. They feel as though, well, as far as the people that like to hate, there's haters all over the place, and you're gonna find a lot of those when you start doing that. So I want you guys to not improve. Like I said before, ambition is kind of something that you don't have. Only some of us are born ambitious. Like I said, there's some of us who are cool with being worker bees, and they're gonna live a worker bee, they're gonna die as a worker bee, and that's how they feel. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just who you are as a person. But if you're on this channel, you either are a reaper or you're trying to become one, and ambition is going to be the number one factor in your life that's going to separate you from others, going to get you forward in life. If you don't have ambition, you don't have anything. There's never going to be a goal that you really want. There's never going to be anything that you truly want if you're not ambitious. And I'm going to tell you something else. Even if you're a worker bee, right? As I said before, being somebody who wants to truly prioritize being in a relationship, living with a person for the rest of their life, being with that person for the rest of their life, that's an ambitious thought, because it's not something that's common in this day and age. So if that's what's important to you, then you need that ambition still too. And I'm gonna be real with you. If you're a man and you're not an ambitious individual, you're gonna have a hard time finding a girl that is, because women in general, if you haven't noticed by now, women in general are easily bored. Easily. Most of them that you meet, they get bored fast as shit. And part of what they love, part of what attaches a woman to a man, what makes her love being around him, that kind of makes him magnetic to her, is the fact that he's always doing something. There's something new with him. Like he wants something else. He's just never satisfied. So because he's never satisfied, because he's always chasing something, his life is kind of a controlled level of hectic. And girls kind of like that. It's interesting. It's almost like you're like your own little personal fucking TV show. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of y'all probably don't know that. A lot of y'all, as men, a lot of us tend to, we like peace. We're kind of like almost like just naturally old men at heart. Once we get to a certain age, especially if you're at the age where you want a relationship really badly, you just kind of want to lounge around the crib, fucking eat food and watch the game and have a beer or two and just kind of like lounge around. And if you do go out, you want to go to your favorite restaurant every time. We normally just kind of want balance and peace. But that's boring as shit, and that will reflect in a relationship. So being ambitious is going to help you refrain from being that boring Joe Schmo 9 to 5 every single day, come home, crack a beer, have a drink, eat something, kind of just lounge around with her. Y'all might go out once a month to go fucking get a snack from the same pub that y'all been going to since you met her. which is gonna get her bored as shit, and that's gonna hurt your relationship. So ambition is something that can be utilized in all aspects. Everybody needs it. Not just the reapers. If you're a worker bee listening to this, if you're anybody who just doesn't see themselves as an ambitious person, you're gonna need it in some aspect. So moving on, we're also gonna touch on the third, and this is probably not the most important trait on here, but in order for anything else on this list to work, you need to have this locked and loaded, and that is planning. Planning is super important because nothing else works without plans. You learning that discipline. If you decide to learn your discipline through fitness without having a well thought out fitness plan, is more than likely not going to work, because it's something that's new to you and you're going to be all over the place. And a lot of times people quit because they don't have an adequate plan in place to help them out with their fitness goals. So planning is going to be big for that. Ambition, whatever you're trying to, once you become ambitious, whatever you're trying to do, you need to have a plan. And again, that goes for everything. Even if you're you're using your ambition in a relationship sense, you still need plans. You know what I mean? She's just not gonna sit around. Like, if y'all just are kind of just like dating and you want to be serious with her, well, if you don't have a plan of how the fuck y'all gonna get a house, how y'all gonna get cars, savings bonds for y'all kids and things like that, trust funds, if you're not doing that now, if you're not planning about it, then it's just gonna be there, and y'all just both gonna be looking stupid at each other at some point in time. Y'all want to start taking things more seriously. So planning is still important for that too. And kind of for everything that's on the, I probably should put that last. I got one more trait here. Like I said, it's 4 of them. I probably should put planning last because planning is so important. But you just look through the world, you look through history, and planning is what separates all of the best people. Now, I'm not gonna say the best people. It's what separates the greats from the okays. The people that you always hear about and that you're always gonna hear about from the rest of the time, more than likely, all utilize planning to the best ability. Napoleon was a master planner. He was somebody who was able to effectively outwit most of the people he came into battle with, and that was just because he was a master planner. Same thing with like a George Washington, or with we all, like I said, y'all know me, I'm pro black, that's how I am. But if you look at the forefathers, even though they didn't have black people in mind when they made the Constitution, the fact that we for the most part still utilize that Constitution to this day, and it's still the test of time through the 200 years, that is an example of planning. And those people, for as long as America still stands, and probably even after the fact, because it's had such a big impact on the world, they will always be seen throughout history. So if you want to be remembered, and if you want to have 2020 be the year that you change your life, planning is going to be very, very important. There's nothing that you can do about things not working. There should always be a plan A, B, and C, but you at least want to have the groundwork there. And sometimes you'll go off your purpose a little bit. For me, it was never really a plan. Like, me being an electrician or chasing the trades electrician was always a plan B, because once I got out of the military, I wanted to go to college and play football, which I almost did, but because I got fucked over by the last school I went to, I didn't have that opportunity. So my plan B ended up being my plan A. Fast forward to 2 years later, now electrician's kind of like what I'm basing my life around at this moment of time, other than my channel and my brand that I'm trying to build. So having plans is always something that's good, because you never want to, sometimes life gives you cards that you can't account for. So yeah, sometimes you're gonna be in a state where fuck what now, you're trying to think of things, but you want to, like I said, this is all about marginalizing some of the heartaches and headaches that's gonna come in the coming year, in the years to come after the fact. And you minimize, you marginalize these things by planning. So remember, planning is very, very key in all of this. And the last one, which is the most it's the most talked about thing if you talk to anybody about just in life, but it's something that we talk about but we don't really grasp the concept of, and that's confidence. So what do I mean when I say we don't really grasp the concept of confidence, right? So I think what we all think confidence is, due to social media and us being a very I say almost like a narcissistic, it's me type society now because of social media. You know, we all want to be flashy, but that's not true confidence, right? And I talked about this on the channel, and I talked about it a little bit on here. But true confidence is just, for one, is something that derives from you being comfortable, right? And comfort means that you start to have a bit of a complacency that isn't harmful. So complacency is bad as far as, if you're complacent where you are in life forever, you're never going to grow. That's bad. But complacent as far as you're comfortable with where you at, you understand what you're doing, and so you're subsequently confident. Like me, I would be, if you put me in a room and gave me like an electrical blueprint, I'd be confident to tell you that to hook up when I gotta hook up, right? As far as residential wise. Now, if you was to take me and they give me a geometry test, I'm not confident about that at all. I barely passed geometry when I was in fucking high school, so I'm probably gonna have a mini heart attack if it was something that was really important that I really needed to do. So that's the kind of the key to confidence. So coming into this year, the first level of confidence is, I want you guys to be confident in yourselves. And like I said, I'm not talking about the societal idea of confidence of, you know, you flexing on the gram with money and I got this and I got that. No, I'm talking about personal confidence in yourself. And the way you can tell is, when you look in the mirror, are you comfortable with what you see? Right? If you wake up in the morning, are you comfortable with what you see in the mirror, and do you feel okay with that? So if you look in the mirror and you're like, fuck, I'm fat, well, in order to build your confidence up in yourself, you might want to try to get a diet going, right? If your confidence is something that you cannot change, such as, like, let's say you have like a birthmark on your face that you can't change, you've always been subconscious about, I want you to try to find ways not to mask it, but to find comfort in it, right? One thing with myself, the back of my head is flat. You know what I mean? The back of my head's pretty flat. And it took me a long time to start to find ways of being comfortable with the way I look, because there was nothing I could do about that. There's nothing I could do about the way my skull is shaped. But for one, I ended up understanding about, like, people always want to find something to talk shit about, because that's just who we are as human beings. That's entertainment. You know, I said women get bored really fast, but, you know, there's a lot of feminine ass men out there, so they take on the traits of women, so they get bored fast too. So they part of women and men, well, feminine men's way of entertaining themselves is talking shit. That's why, like, you notice, like, if you have like haters, they normally like real feminine. They kind of like, they act like little girls. They like to talk and go behind people's backs and shit like that. That's just an aspect of life. That's always what's gonna happen. People are always gonna want to talk. So once I learned to accept that, right? So I didn't care about anybody making jokes about it. And then once I also started doing things to make sure, like, part of the reason why I would get shit about my head was because my haircut was fucked up. You know, my head, I would look kind of like I wouldn't keep a haircut. So one thing that I constantly do now as an adult is I gotta have my haircut. You know what I mean? That's not something that I need to make me feel good about myself, but I just like how it feels to walk around with a nice clean cut. And I've been like that since I was little, but, you know, again, money issues, I didn't always have it, so sometimes I used to have to just rock the way it was. But now that I can truly effectively and have total control of it, that's something that I do. So find ways to kind of cope and try to understand that about yourself. You know, that's for things that you can't change. Now, things that you can't change, your swag, your weight, your knowledge, all those things that you can't change, that should be something that's on the number one top priority in your goals for this year, because you need confidence. You know, confidence, everything I just said, except for planning, is not gonna work if you don't have confidence. You'll never be able to get anything else to work without confidence. Now, planning, yes, but even planning to an extent, because you have to, in order to execute and to truthfully and and accurately execute your goals, you're gonna need that confidence. How many times do you guys watch football or something like that, and they'll go out and they fucking plays up? That's because the players are not confident in what they're running. They're not confident in their coach and everything else. So confidence is something that's needed for almost every aspect on this list. And you'll kind of notice as I've been listing these down, all of them have a direct correlation to the other in some way, shape, or form. Disciplines related to ambitions related to planning, confidence is related to everything, and vice versa. You can mix and match them. Even if you guys, out of everything I just listed out, every trait that I gave on here, if you guys just pick two of them, if you guys take two of them and just say, that's what I want to focus on this year, I guarantee you that you're still going to have a way better 2020 than you did in 2019 if you focus on them. If someone's to say, well, I'm not very good at planning, I'm not disciplined, but I want to be ambitious and I need to build my confidence. If you did those two things right there, you're having a better 2020 already. And I can say that with anything. So definitely at least try to focus on at least two of these for the up and coming year. I want us all to be successful. I want us all to make this year the year that we take that first step towards being reapers, towards being leaders of ourselves, leaders of the new era, to be entrepreneurs. And I hate the fact that it took me all the way until midway through the year to fully take account to the potential that I had in myself, because I feel like if I had started in January as opposed to fucking August or July, I feel like I could have been in a lot better of a spot. But you know what? It's no need to have regret. It's all about moving forward in the future. And now knowing what I know, I understand that I can move forward and I can do better things. And I want you guys to bypass that by starting as soon as the year starts. I've been saying a lot, start now. Why not start now? But, sometimes if you need to get that planning aspect out the way, go ahead, get the planning started today. Get your goal list started today. I just finished mine not too long ago, and I'll fill you guys in on that probably on my YouTube channel. I may do it on here too, but I'm just about done my list. I'm trying to see if I can add 2 or 3 more things, see if they're feasible or not. But when you're putting together your goal list for next year, actually make sure that it's a very feasible goal list. That's one last thing I want to touch on before I end off the podcast. But when I'm making my list, I make sure that everything that I'm trying to make is feasible. It's something that can be done in that time frame. So I know that next year I'm not going to buy a house. It's not going to happen because it doesn't coincide with everything else I'm trying to do. Same thing with, I know that I'm not, it's possible, but a number one goal on my list is not to, get $1 million next year, because that takes time. You may be thinking, don't limit yourself. But here's the thing. I want you guys to make these feasible, because I need you to aggressively and viciously attack these goals. We're not just putting these on here just to hopefully that happens. Nah, everything that's on that goal list, if it doesn't happen, it needs to be a good damn reason that didn't happen. For this year, the main goal that didn't work out for me was my credit goal. 2018, I got my credit up to a 740-ish, something like that. It was pretty high, especially for my age. I was only like 20. I wasn't even 21 yet. That's what happened in 2018. Ended up dropping because I went through a lot of financial trouble. I got myself in some issues, and I was trying to raise it up. I got it up pretty to a decent level this year, and financial issues hit again when I didn't get paid by the military. And these motherfuckers didn't pay me for like 3 months. So there's nothing I can really do about that. But like I said, if it's like if a situation that's kind of out of your hands, life happens, okay, cool. But I'm not using that as an excuse. That's something that next year I'm viciously attacking. One way or another, I'm gonna get this credit back to where I need to be. So that's something that I want to emphasize on. Where these goals is not for play. They're 100%. You need to be chasing these as if like your life depended on it. Like if you don't get it, then you're fucked. Like you need to really be hunting these down. And to piggyback off of that, I want you guys to not be afraid of failure this year. There's actually one trait that I didn't put on here, but I wanted to add this on here. Let's take into account what I just said, right? Let's say one of those goals you don't accomplish. I want you to be mad about it, because if you're mad about it, you're gonna want to change it, right? Yes, but I do not want that to discourage you. I don't want that to make you quit. right? That's one thing I don't want to happen. So be mad about you not accomplishing your goals. Be pissed. Get real angry about it, and then utilize that energy to to going after that goal again and going after it better. You know, and then go through your steps. Understand your discipline. You know, gain that ambition of trying to go back after it, and then plan, right? And now, because you've already tried it once and you've understood what you've done wrong, now you develop the confidence behind that to go after what you did. So, you know, we're going to accept failure. You know, failure is like the key ingredient. Like, if it's almost like if you was like a Powerpuff Girl or some shit, like the first thing they're going to throw in that bitch is failure. Because that's what's going to make you who you are, right? The difference between the people who are miserable and bitter and broke and complaining all the fucking time and pointing fingers at everybody else, the difference between them and the difference between a P. Diddy is that P. Diddy took his failures and said, that can't hold me back. I just know what to do better this time. Right? That's the main difference. When you at work, you got, you know, these old motherfuckers who are just really, really bitter and they mad about where they at and they just don't walk around. You know, one thing that always fucking threw me off as an individual is, you know, I've been through a lot in life, but one thing I always make sure of is I make sure I smile. You know what I'm saying? You know, you gotta be able to, like Pac said in his song, you know, you gotta be able to, you gotta keep your sense of humor. You gotta be able to smile through all the bullshit. And a lot of times when I'm out and I'm enjoying myself, and I had one dude say to me, he said, "Oh yeah, that smile, you ain't going through nothing yet. You don't know about life." I'm like, nah, I know about life. I've been through a lot in my life, but you know what? I'm not a bitch. I ain't let life break me down. And that's the number one. That's the number one thing you always gotta remember. Life can't break you. It can't. Just because you failed, just because some shit happened that's out of control, that does not mean that you have to give up on what you believe in. And that does not mean that you need to be walking around mopey all the fucking time and giving up on everything. Life cannot and should not break you. It can't. I'm going to give one last story and I'm going to get on up out of here. But 3 years ago, I was in Marine Corps boot camp. And if you know anybody that's been through Marine Corps boot camp or been through any type of, I'll say Marine Corps boot camp or Army boot camp, you see a lot of people break. You know, you see a lot of individuals, you know, the pressure gets on them. It's 100% more mental than it is physical when it comes to boot camp. You know, and that goes for every branch probably. But one person I think about, you know, a lot is there was a dude in my platoon. His name was McGee. And McGee, let me give you an idea how bad McGee had it in boot camp, right? And I thought I had it pretty bad because I went to boot camp fat. I was 220 fucking pounds. I was big as shit. But McGee, not only was he fat, he was getting fucked with so bad in boot camp that another recruit quit. And in order to quit on Parris Island, you have to say that you're going to kill yourself, and then they'll get you off the island as fast as possible because they don't want, you know, anybody murdering themselves on Parris Island. But a recruit quit because he saw McGee getting fucked with so bad. McGee didn't quit, but somebody seeing what the fuck they was doing to McGee said, "Man, fuck this shit. This is not for me." That's how real that was, right? It's how bad McGee was getting fucked with. Now, here's one thing about McGee though. I want to say it was 3 weeks before we were getting ready to graduate. I want to say 3 or 4 weeks. It might have been 3 weeks. McGee was, and he cried a few times. But this is probably the worst one. This dude was he was in the fetal position on the concrete at 4:30 in the fucking morning, crying. This is not a small dude. It's like he's like 6'2", like 230. This is a big motherfucker. Just in a fetal position, crying, hyperventilating. He doesn't want to be here. It's 3 weeks from the time we're about to graduate. We've been on this island for 10 fucking weeks. That's how bad he had it. But you know one thing about McGee? You know, as much as he got fucked with, he never quit. We lost up until that point. I think my platoon has set the record for like the most drops in a fucking cycle in 2nd Battalion history. Which might have been exaggerated because if you've been in Marine Corps boot camp, you know drill instructors exaggerate a lot. But I wouldn't be surprised if we was up there though. We had like something close to almost 20 fucking drops. And I want to say out of that 20 drops that we had, it had to be at least like 5 or 6 of them that just went straight off the island. And that's of what I know of. Because you know there's a lot of people who get hurt and they keep getting recycled until they eventually get phased out of boot camp. So as of what I know, it's been like it was 6 of them that didn't become Marines. It could have been more. It could have been up to 10. Because I know there was about 4 other recruits there that had some really bad fucking injury problems. So I'd be surprised they did become Marines. But you think about it, right? And this is almost 20 people, and McGee, as bad as he got fucked with. And I'll be the first to tell you, because I was in that platoon. I was there, and it was rough. These people that quit did not have it as bad as McGee did, and they did not make it. They didn't. So I say that to say this, right? He had a lot of failures, and life was hard where he was, but he didn't allow it to break him. And I guarantee you, for the rest of his life, there's going to be a different level of confidence that man has in himself that he probably didn't even know was there beforehand, because he didn't allow life and his circumstances to break him. So that's why I'm bringing this up now, talking about failures and things like that. It cannot break you, because at the end of the day, when you make it, it's going to be a different level. I'm telling you, there's going to be a whole nother aspect of confidence in yourself that you never knew that you had. When you get that confidence, it's like everything else is easy, even if you're uncomfortable with something. Now, I give the example of like the geometry test. Let me tell you something. Even though I have not done geometry since I left high school, and I wasn't good at it when I did it in high school, I have enough confidence in myself where I feel like anything that I truly try, that I truly put my mind to, I can accomplish it. It take me a minute, but I guarantee you, after some time, man, let me put my head in this book, you know what I mean, get myself together. I'll get a B on that motherfucking test. It's gonna be a lot. I ain't gonna have to cheat. I'm gonna get a B. You know what I mean? So that's what confidence does to you guys. So always keep that in mind, guys. I want to wish you guys a very Merry Christmas. Well, hopefully I didn't offend none of y'all. If it did, stop being a bitch. But I wish y'all happy holidays, man. Great New Year's. Y'all be safe out there. It's gonna be the last Reaper podcast until the new year, and I guess it's only right that this be the longest one I made. And I want you guys to be the best of the best, man. We're coming strong next year, guys. We coming super strong. It's Devontae's, it's Reaper Trainings, the Reaper Motivation Podcast. We don't chase dreams, we hunt goals. I see y'all.